Welcome back, CPA candidates and financial analysts, to this explainer. Today, we are totally demystifying accounts payable ratios. And more importantly, we're going to equip you to handle some of the examiner's absolute favorite tricks. We are skipping the fluff and getting right to the point, how you actually calculate, derive, and interpret these essential efficiency metrics without falling into the traps specifically designed to catch you off guard. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with accounts payable turnover, uncover the hidden purchases formula, run through a real scenario, calculate days payables outstanding, interpret what these numbers actually mean, and finally, look at the most common exam mistakes.
All right, Section 1, Accounts Payable Turnover. But before we even look at the math, I want you to ask yourself, what is the single most common trap candidates fall into when calculating payables turnover? I'll give you a hint. It involves just picking the absolute easiest number available instead of the right one. Keep that in mind. To avoid that trap, we first need to get our definition straight. At its core, accounts payable turnover is simply the number of times a firm pays off its accounts payable during a specific period. Think of it as a fundamental activity ratio. It essentially measures how efficiently a company manages its cash outflows to its suppliers. And here is the formula. Total purchases divided by average accounts payable. Total purchases is your numerator, which represents literally everything you bought on credit. Your denominator is the average accounts payable. You usually find this by taking beginning payables, adding ending payables, and dividing by 2. Now, using an average here is absolutely vital. Why? Because you are comparing an income statement-like flow of purchases over an entire period against a single balance sheet snapshot. You have to smooth it out. Moving right along to Section 2, the hidden purchases formula. Now, here is where it gets spicy. On the exam, you almost never just get handed total purchases on a silver platter. Nope. Instead, you are given a scattering of inventory and cost data, so you actually have to derive it step by step. To find your true purchases, you take ending inventory, add cost of goods sold, and subtract beginning inventory. You know, cost of goods sold is the cost of what left the warehouse, right? But to figure out what we actually owe our suppliers for, we need to know what entered the warehouse. Make sense?
Let's put this into practice with Section 3, Scenario, calculating total purchases.
As a CPA candidate, you are going to see scattered data points exactly like these. Let's look at Amy's Market. Their beginning inventory is roughly $135,000, their ending inventory is about $166,000, and their cost of goods sold is a whopping $2.5 million. It is entirely up to you to piece this puzzle together to make the turnover ratio work. So let's work through the math step by step together. We take that ending inventory of $166,490, add the massive COGS of over $2.5 million, and then we back out our beginning inventory of $135,771. Boom! We arrive at a derived total purchases figure of exactly $2,561,219. This right here, this is the golden number for your numerator. Next, by dividing those derived purchases we just found by the average accounts payable for year 6, which for Amy's Market happens to be roughly $54,900, we get a super satisfying final turnover ratio of 46.6 times. Basically, this means Amy's Market is effectively clearing out its entire accounts payable balance nearly 47 times a year. Pretty fast, right? All right, Section 4, Days Payables Outstanding. While saying 46 times a year sounds great and all, sometimes it is just way easier to think about this stuff in days. Days payables outstanding, which you might also see called the average payables period, tells us precisely how many days pass, on average, between acquiring that inventory and actually handing over the cold hard cash to pay for it. The math here is a total breeze. The crucial point is that you simply take 365 days and divide it by that turnover ratio we literally just learned how to calculate. It beautifully converts a times per year multiple into an incredibly intuitive daily figure that managers and examiners can easily wrap their heads around. Looking at the visual breakdown for Amy's Market, we can see they have an average payables period of 7.83 days for year 6. So why is this important? Well, because this roughly 8-day period is a massive component of the overall cash conversion cycle. It essentially represents the amount of time Amy's Market is freely operating on their suppliers' money before they actually have to dip into their own cash reserves. It's basically free financing. Let's talk about what this actually means in Section 5, interpreting the ratios. So you have the number, but what does it tell you? Well, a high turnover, meaning a really short payables period,
generally suggests a firm is taking way less time to pay. This often indicates the firm is taking full advantage of early payment discounts, like a classic 210 net 30 scenario. Conversely, a low turnover implies they are dragging their feet and taking more time to pay. This could mean delayed payment patterns, which might hint at cash flow issues. Or, actually scratch that, it might just mean the firm is brilliant and successfully negotiated much longer discount periods. Context is literally everything here.
Almost at the finish line. Section 6. Common exam mistakes. Guys, please do not fall for these traps. The absolute #1 mistake is lazily grabbing cost of goods sold and just tossing it into the numerator instead of taking the time to calculate actual purchases. Don't do it. Second, candidates so often forget to average the beginning and ending payables balances. It's a simple step, but easily missed. Third, don't automatically assume a lower turnover is inherently good cash management just because you're holding on to cash longer. You might actually be alienating your best suppliers or missing out on really lucrative early pay discounts. And lastly, relying on simple averages when a business is highly seasonal, that can severely distort your ratios. Which brings us to a major success tip for you all. Remember that financial numbers are based on historical rules. Ratios can be heavily obscured by seasonality or by management artificially window dressing the books at year-end. Maybe they are deliberately delaying payments just to boost their ending bank balance to look better for investors. You have to rely on the exact derivation formulas we discussed today to cut right through that noise. So I will leave you with this thought. Are you ready to confidently spot the purchases trap on exam day? The next time you see COGS and inventory data just sitting right next to an accounts payable question, I guarantee you'll know exactly what the examiner is trying to pull. Keep this hidden formula in your back pocket, and you are going to nail it every single time. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy studying!